Hey, what's up, everybody? Thank you for joining us today on the inaugural episode of Most Ambitious Crossover Event. My name is Jeremiah. This is my co-host,
Ariel.
If you are kind of just wondering what this is all going to be about, essentially, Ariel and I, we watch 2 movies per episode. We come back, reconvene about a week later with our own ambitious crossover event. So we take the 2 movies that we watched and we combine them into a third, like I said, crossover event. Hopefully it's the most ambitious. We'll allow you guys at the end of the video to kind of comment and see which one you would rather see, mine or Ariel's.
Which one you would fund.
Which one would you would fund
money.
on our GoFundMe, our Patreon or whatever. And we'll try the best of our abilities to make that film. Some of these stars are obviously going to be really hard to get a hold of and will probably be way above our budget.
But we'll make it happen.
But we'll make it happen.
No.
But before we kind of get into all that, I won't spoil what the 2 movies we're going to do for our very first episode. We kind of just wanted to give you guys a chance to get to know us a little bit better in terms of our taste in film. So just very briefly, we're going to go over our 3 favorite films. And I know it's
Top
super
3.
cliche. Everybody's favorite films change as time goes on, but for me personally, I know these are 3 films that will stand the test of time, I feel like.
For me, it's 3 off the top, so.
It's just 3 off the top then?
Yeah. For me, it's the 3 off the top. That,
I spent hours
He spent
on
hours
this
in his
list.
so.
I spent hours. I stayed up day and night
Mine would
rewatching
probably change.
hella movies for a week straight. Not really. But just to get things started, I'll go first. My first one is a sci-fi action film from the late 90s, The Matrix, with Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, Carrie Fisher. The story at the time came out around Y2K as well, so everybody was all about the end of the world and technology's gonna fail us and planes are gonna fall out of the sky and all that nonsense. So that's really a big part of why I enjoy that film, and I kind of feel like it still stands today with technology, even though the story's, it's still a possibility. There's a 1% chance we're living in a virtual reality, so it's
Still
super relatable. There's a chance, but the visual style as well, the action scenes, I know everybody leaving the theater was trying to dodge bullets. I know I did. I don't know if you did. As soon as I left the theater, everyone was like, check it out, dude. Throw something at me. And then it's I'm going to try to dodge it. The slow-mo, the wire-fu coordination with if you've ever seen the behind the scenes, where they've got wires attached to all the actors and they're just,
The making of.
The making of, yeah. So that's my first one.
Alright, my first one, I'm gonna go pretty basic. Nothing special. Star Wars New Hope. Pretty good movie. Super solid storytelling.
Your
very
favorite
good
one
pace.
out of all of them?
My favorite Star Wars movie?
It's probably right. Because everyone says Empire Strikes Back.
I would say it goes in between that one and Empire Strikes Back.
Right on, because
sure.
mine is either A New Hope or Revenge of the Sith.
Yeah. I feel like Empire Strikes Back might be more exciting, but A New Hope is really well made. It just flows together so nicely.
Where it all started. Also,
Word.
where it all started.
Yeah, so that's going to be the first one on my list of 3.
So my second one is another sci-fi action film from the 90s. Terminator 2 Judgment Day. I essentially grew up on that movie. I remember though, anytime I would watch it, one of the scariest parts I would say is when the T-1000 kills that cop with his finger and it just turns into a sword and just yeets the dude real quick at the mental health facility. But Arnold Schwarzenegger as the T-800, super iconic. Edward Furlong as the little piece of shit John Connor. And then, God, I'm forgetting her name. Linda Hamilton as Sarah Connor. And they're making a new one, and it's supposed to ignore everything that's come after T2 till Genesis.
That's the new thing nowadays.
That is the new thing nowadays, to just bypass everything that's ever happened and just start over again. Time travel is such a weird thing in film, and I kind of just felt like it was simple enough to where it didn't really bog itself down with too many details, and it just seems the more films they made about it, it just became a clusterfuck, I guess. Because then in the last one that came out, it turns out somebody sent a Terminator when Sarah Connor was like a child, but they just never tell you. And now I don't think we're ever going to find out, and I don't think it just really matters. So I'm still going to go see the new one because it holds a dear place in my heart. I mean, the franchise as a whole, I'm like iffy about, but that movie, special effects on it too for the time. It's a great story between man and machine and how we learn from each other, and that's probably the biggest draw for me, is probably the story. Seeing the chemistry between Arnold Schwarzenegger and Edward Furlong is, I mean, it's pretty damn amazing. It still gets me every time. I never get tired of watching that movie, so that's going to be sitting on my number 2.
Alright, for my number 2, I'm going to switch it up a little bit. Django Unchained. One of Quentin Tarantino's films. I liked it better than Hateful Eight. I thought Hateful Eight was a really good movie, but it's, it's kind of its own kind of thing. But I think Django Unchained was really good.
Is it your favorite Tarantino movie?
It's between that one and Kill Bill. I'm not going to say the volumes because
it's one story.
It's one movie.
Would you go see Kill Bill 3 and 4 if you ever made it?
Yeah. Anything makes I'm going to go see it. But yeah, Django Unchained, just because, I think it's a super smooth movie. I like movies that flow really good. The storytelling doesn't really lag a lot, so...
No lingering moments.
No lingering moments.
I think that's one of the reasons I kind of didn't like Hateful Eight, because I felt it was like too much dialogue. Even for Tarantino.
Very dialogue
it was like a lot.
Yeah.
Like a lot.
I appreciated it for what it was, but... Yeah. I like a movie more like Django Unchained. I think it's a more well-rounded movie as opposed to like a Hateful Eight. I think a Hateful Eight is kind of geared towards a certain audience. Whether Django Unchained is just a really good Western in general. So
3 hours of the N-word just nonstop.
Yeah, man, the good stuff.
It wasn't.
Tarantino stuff.
It wasn't 3 hours. Was it? It's like a little over 2 hours.
It's like
wasn't there a cut
like
of Hateful Eight that was like 3 hours?
Of Hateful Eight?
That you know, I this is me going off of something.
Well, they have the extended, the roadshow.
Remembered.
The roadshow edition where they had an intermission in theaters, in select theaters. So they probably have.
Wasn't it showing it in 70mm too?
Yeah.
70mm. That's cool. So that's your second. 2. That's your number 2. All right. So that brings me down to my number 3. Top favorite movie of all time. The Sandlot. Also from the 90s. All my favorite films were released in the 90s. Like nothing
That's your golden era.
Nothing has come out in the last 20 years that can be considered a landmark in filmmaking. At least in my eyes. I'm totally kidding. There's been a lot of great films released over the last, we'll call it post 90s, the 2000s. But nothing really that has like stuck with me as much as these 3 films. But like I said, the third one, The Sandlot, I love that movie. I think it's an underrated coming of age film. I know we checked the critic score on it on like Rotten Tomatoes, and it was like at 60 something.
Sandlot?
Yeah.
So like 6 out of 10.
Yeah, which I'm like, I guess, but it's, that's why I say it's like one of my favorite movies. There's so many quotable lines. The story is memorable. Scott Smalls, Benny the Jet Rodriguez, and the rest of the Sandlot crew. Come on, you're killing me, Smalls. Like, come on, man. Like, who doesn't know where that's from? Probably a lot of people, but at least they know what it is. And they're actually, I just read, with the original director and writer, I think, Mickey Evans is trying to make a TV series sequel with all of the original cast. But I'm like, no, please don't.
Please don't.
If it's a good story, I guess, it's just so hard to like...
You don't want to have to take that step if you don't have to.
Yeah, and to bring back all the original cast members, because at the end of the movie, they all
They're already doing their
They
thing.
were all doing something.
They had a happy ending.
Yeah, everybody's characters went off, and they faded out from the field, and as they like.
You can't just fade back in.
Yeah, you can't just fade back in. I know they all got their like to do their own thing, and it tells you what they do when they leave the Sandlot or ended up doing. So they all grow
Why
up and
change history?
Yeah, so why? That's what I'm saying. If they're all gonna be coming back together, they all have to be like the same spot. So I'm like, how are you gonna bring everybody back together? It's gonna be about their kids and stuff. So like, you telling me that they're all gonna have kids, and then it's just like.
Is that like greenlit or in the works?
I think it's in the works. I'm not sure. This was like maybe 2-3 days ago that I read it. And then the story, it's like, are you just gonna they hit the ball over the fence again? I don't want to say it's already been done, but it's already been done. But everything's a remake, so I guess it's not really an issue. It's more of a nostalgic issue for me, I guess you could say, because that story is just tied up in a neat little package and thrown to the audience, and that's all you need to know. I don't think revisiting it is gonna do
anything else.
Do any favors, I guess, for it. But it's a wait and see type thing. So that rounds out my top 3. So let's round out your top 3 favorite films.
Alright, so...
Coming in strong, number 3.
Coming in strong, number 3, The Dark Knight. All-time superhero movie for me, at least. I think it does a really good job balancing out 2 different villains, Joker and Two-Face. A really stupid thing I hear is that Two-Face was underused, but... Who wants a whole movie on Two-Face?
But it's like his movie.
Yeah, like it's like low key.
If you like think about it, it's his movie.
I think they just wanted like fight scenes throughout the whole movie.
No, between who?
Two-Face. But yeah, I really like the way they interweave those 2 villains together, and they made
best
them
superhero
connect.
film of all time.
Best superhero film of all time. A lot of people say, you know, especially nowadays, probably like Infinity War, Black Panther. I think Dark Knight is still a stronger movie than
both
Black
of them.
Panther. And
I feel like
I mean, I like The Dark Knight as a movie, and I like that it has the superhero world in that whole thing.
But it's grounded.
It's great.
It's like real. That's what I'm saying.
Grounded.
You can't really compare. Because MCU's more like.
But I mean, if we're
action-y,
gonna compare the filmmaking,
actiony, like CGI, fuckfest,
Yeah.
3000.
But I do like The Dark Knight the
so-
way, like as a movie, I think it's a more well-made movie still, in my opinion. Just because you know, Infinity War does a really, really good job at balancing out characters.
Like everybody.
Yeah, like everybody.
Everyone and their moms.
But there still is that, you know, teeter-totter effect.
And
where
also,
people don't
it's
get
like
as much screen time.
You have to kind of realize that they've been like introducing these characters for like over the. But that's not to knock the fact that they balance.
It's hard to
all
compare.
So well.
It's hard to compare, but
I will agree that The Dark Knight probably is the best superhero
Probably
film
is,
of all
man.
time. Either
Probably
next
the best
to
movie.
Me personally, a movie of all time. See, that's where you.
that'll be a separate video.
The best movie of all time. That's impossible to.
That'll be a separate video.
Time will never end.
Take that with a grain of salt.
Time will never end. Like that's an ever changing. We'd have to make that video like once.
But that's my top 3. You know, great performance.
But let me get your Batman voice before I forget. Your best. Where is she?
My best.
We'll do the scene from The Dark Knight when he's like, "What's the difference between me and you?" And he's like, "I'm not wearing hockey pants."
You want me to do that?
Yeah. So I'm gonna say, "What's the difference between me and
Alright,
you?"
here we
And
go.
you're gonna be like, "I'm not wearing hockey pants."
Alright, ready?
You ready? What's the difference between me and you? I'm not wearing hockey pants. Hey, there it is. Mine's better.
Cast me.
Cast him. Hey, they do need a new Batman.
They
They do need
do.
a new Batman.
I'm a little too short, but
Hey, you can bulk up, bro.
yeah. Hey, new reincarnations.
Hey, hell yeah. You could be you look like a Robin.
Yeah, I could.
You
do
look like the Robin
though.
that gets killed. Like
Oh,
if you're
yeah.
gonna play Robin, you're
What's his name?
gonna die. Tim Drake. But he doesn't even die. He comes back as the Red Hood. I'm pretty sure. I'm not well versed in Batman lore.
Who knows? The timelines are like.
But that was our top 3 movies. Hopefully that kind of gives you guys a picture of like what we're into. Like I said, it's an ever changing list, but like I said, me personally, will stand the test of time if I could talk. But I know yours says it's just off tops, so it's super cliche. It rotates out, but that kind of just covers that. Hopefully, in the future, we'll have some other movie-related videos, some movie reviews. Maybe we'll each extend our list to top 10, and we can go a little bit more in depth. But that's not for this video. Like I mentioned earlier, this video is for the most ambitious crossover event. I failed to mention the 2 movies, just so you guys would have to sit through all that to get to this part.
Hey, marketing.
So yeah, brief overview again. We take 2 movies, we combined them. This week we have, drum roll please,
Home Alone
and The Equalizer, starring Denzel Washington. We don't really have like a process to like pick these movies.
There's no method
to the madness. It's just we picked 2 movies. I kind of just suggested them because I kind of got a little bit of feel of Home Alone in The Equalizer at the very end of the 3rd act when he's like fighting off the mafia in the Home Depot knockoff store. It just made me think of Home Alone a little bit. I watched Home Alone for the first time in years. Super product of its time. A lot of the, I guess, occurrences I could not see happening today. One of the very first things I noticed in the opening scene, not opening scene, but in the beginning of the movie when they're like late for their flight. And
a lot of contradictions.
They only have 45 minutes to get to the airport and go through security and all of that, and they pull it off somehow. Maybe, like I said, it's a product of its time because it's the 90s, so it like works. I don't remember how fast it used to take.
But I mean, it's Home Alone.
It is also Home Alone. I guess that's not really an important part of the movie. And then they forget their kid. Like, how do you forget your kid? Which is, again, it's freaking Home Alone. Like, if they didn't forget their kid, there would be no Home Alone.
There'd be no movie.
There'd be no Macaulay Culkin. Like, so, Equalizer, I like it. It's a good film. I didn't know it was a TV series.
Back in the day?
Back in the day. I don't know how far back in the day. I briefly Googled it after someone had mentioned it was a TV series. I only know it as Denzel Washington equalizing the shit out of everybody. But the TV shares the same premise. I don't think it's just as like badass, I would say, because it's also a product of his time. So I would say this is a more intense version. I like the second one too. The second one was good. But your story, I know we kind of briefly talked about, kind of almost resembles the second one, but there's a little character switch. Have you seen the second one?
The second Home Alone?
No, the second Equalizer.
Oh, the second Equalizer? I have not.
Okay. You should.
I saw the first one.
That's all that matters. As long as we have the characters. There's really no rules either to how we do this.
We know the basis of both movies.
The basis of both movies is essentially what we're combining. The only kind of stipulation I guess you could say, is we really can't alter the characteristics of these characters too much to make them fall out of line with what they were portrayed as in the respective
They have to have the
film.
same character.
Yeah, same characteristics, but now they're just meeting people from other movies. So we're going to essentially take turns, and then I said earlier at the very end, you guys can comment, see which one you guys would rather fund, would rather see. We'll try the best of our abilities to make it happen. Take that with a grain of salt, but I'm going to go first, I guess. I'll go first for mine.
Let's do it. Let's hear the story.
So Home Alone and Equalizer, the third movie. Honestly, I had trouble coming up with the title. I tried for like 10 minutes to come up with the title, so this one doesn't have, it's untitled. It's a working title, so whatever you want to call this, that's what would be on the script. But essentially, my story, we have Robert McCall, Denzel Washington's character from Equalizer, now lives in Chicago next door to the McAllisters. And so it kind of starts off the same, where the family's getting ready for their trip the day before. They're all stumbling around. No one's paying attention to Kevin, and he's just like complaining
As usual.
As usual, because that's what I noticed in Home Alone is he was just like. So he's still being Kevin. His family's, getting ready for the trip. And instead of Marv's character, and it starts so weird because in Home Alone he's already in the house, like dressed as a cop.
Mm-hmm.
Essentially, I kind of got rid of that, and so he like shows up to the house, knocks on the door. They like let him in because one of the kids answers it, and it's like, oh, it's the cop. We already know he's scoping out the neighborhood, seeing who's not going to be in town. He does his thing, and then he goes, and then he makes his way to Robert's house, and I kind of wanted to have like an established scene where like Robert still does the same little things, where he like has one plate, like eats his, by himself type deal, because he's a loner. But also I kind of wanted that tension already to where he's like hyper aware of like his surroundings and kind of what's going on the whole time. So when Marv goes to knock on the door, he opens it and kind of like does that Denzel thing where he's like, hello officer, like real quick, try to get to the point. And Marv's like, oh, I just was making sure everyone's locked up for the holidays, a lot of traveling. But like Robert knows something is up. Kind of like that exchange in the Equalizer where he has it with the Nikolai dude who's sent to like kill him. How he poses as a cop, but he like Robert knows he's not a cop. So it's kind of be one of those, and like Marv's scared, so he's like, oh fuck. But nothing really happens. He's just like, oh, like I'm gonna be staying here. No need to worry about that, officer. So he goes on his way and continues to see whose house he's gonna break into. Kind of following that, the next day when they leave for their trip, they kind of forget about Kevin the same way. She accidentally counts the neighbor kid, and then he like leaves and is like, see you guys later. So then the family just doesn't know Kevin's missing. And then we kind of just cut to like Kevin waking up, realizing nobody's home. And I'm still, of course, I want to keep the I wish I didn't have a family thrown in there before. Yeah, the line at least. So then he wakes up and his family's gone, so he starts doing Home Alone things, as I've come to call them. Just eating shit, ordering pizza.
Walking around naked.
Walking around half naked in his underwear, taking like the shower. I think that's still the funniest thing when he like takes a shower and he's like in the mirror and he's like putting on the like deodorant and stuff and then he's like, ah! So we'll be having him do that. Kind of in the meantime, Robert's still just doing not equalizer things, but I kind of want to show that he still kind of just keeps to himself almost. I do want have him working somewhere. I don't want him having like working at the Home Depot's knockoff store. So I kind of just was like, let's just have him work at a deli.
Change it up a little.
Change it up just a little bit. So instead of Home Depot, he's like at a Subway knockoff. I don't know, just working to get by. Trying to not forget his past life, but his skill set, he doesn't need that anymore. So now he just makes sandwiches for people, and people love that shit. So kind of just have that, and then we'll have Harry and Marv. I changed their kind of background a little bit, and as opposed to just being the wet bandits, they are now working for a like crime lord mafia type deal. I didn't get into specifics, but they're working for like a crime lord. And they're in charge of like breaking into that certain neighborhood. So when they report back to their secret evil lair organization, crime organization, the head dude's like, we'll just call him Russian. I couldn't think of any other.
Some boss guy.
Some boss guy. Is Russian or Eastern European. They always are. Essentially tells Harry and Marv like, hey, you guys are in charge of robbing this neighborhood, but just because you guys are idiots, because you've botched so many jobs, it's kind of be like, this is like your last chance, or like it's implied. You gotta prove yourself, otherwise we're gonna like kill you.
This is the one that counts.
This is the one that counts. But to make sure they don't fuck it up, the crime boss guy sends his two sons, Billy and Bobby, who are also like Eastern European tracksuit wearing. I decided that the way you're gonna
Is
differentiate.
it like the '90s tracksuit?
Yeah. So one's wearing Adidas and the other one's wearing Puma, so you can tell it's Billy and Bobby. So Billy wears Puma.
There you go, branding.
Bobby wears Adidas, and so the crime boss guy, that's his name, is gonna send Billy and Bobby with Harry and Marv to make sure they essentially don't fuck it up. So we kind of just cut now to Harry and Marv kind of breaking. They're in a house. And they're like putting stuff in bags, and they're doing their Harry and Marv banter, because I mean they're just talking about dumb things because they're both idiots. Billy and Bobby are parked down the street in a van that says like plumbing or something. Like, it's just super sketch. You could tell off the bat that's not a plumbing van.
Candy inside.
Candy inside. Knock for candy. And they have the little.
Yeah.
But so they're coming out of a house. They've successfully broken into a house, and Robert's coming home from work when he notices, hey, that's the cop from a couple days ago, and that's not his house, and he's with somebody. So then it cuts to them kind of in this house. That's another house that they got into, and they're ransacking it, and there's a knock on the door. And they're like, oh shit, so let's just dip out the back real quick. So when they dip out the back, there's Mr. McCall standing there, and it says something witty like, this ain't, I don't know, I can't be
This
witty.
ain't it, Chief?
This ain't it, Chief. Chief called, he said that ain't it. I don't know, something about being in the wrong home. I can't think of anything witty to say right now, but just picture Denzel Washington, Harry and Marv open the door, and he's standing right there, and he's like, you boys from the neighborhood? That might be it, I don't know.
Insert witty dialogue here.
Insert witty dialogue here, and they're like, oh shit. So since they're idiots, they like try to fight him, but he incapacitates them like immediately, like with some, he doesn't kill him, but he like, you know, kind of knocks him out. It's like, bah, bah, bah.
Yeah. Gives him a quick slap around.
Yeah, gives him a quick slap around. Doesn't kill them. And essentially he's like, oh, what are you guys doing? And they're like, we won't tell you. And he's like, well, I'm going to give you one chance. And then he like breaks Harry's finger. And they're like, oh my god. And it's right as soon as they're going to spill the beans, Billy and Bobby come in. Mm-hmm. And that's like where it's going to be like a big fight scene, to where like Denzel Washington is facing down these two Eastern European tracksuit wearing badasses. One of them has nunchucks and the other one has like a, I want him to be like super cliche and like whip out a knife and it's like
a butterfly.
Yeah, like a butterfly knife, and it's like and then Robert's like doesn't grab anything because he doesn't need anything. Brief little fight scene. Denzel gets injured, but he kills them both. At the end, he kills them both. And in the meantime, Harry and Marv escape. And then as Harry and Marv are escaping, Kevin's kind of already bored with being alone, starts to miss his family, and kind of looks out his window, and Harry and Marv are running to the van. Kevin doesn't really think anything of it. It's kind of implied that he realizes that it was the cop, but he's not so sure. So as Harry and Marv are escaping back to Crime Boss Guy's lair, Denzel Washington disposes of the bodies. I didn't get into the details, but he gets rid of the bodies, cleans up the house essentially. Harry and Marv left their thing, so he puts everything back so that nobody knows that they broke into his house, minus some of the shit that they broke, but that's like one of those movie details where you just toss it to the side. Figure it out later.
Put it under the rug.
Just sweep it under the rug. We'll worry about that later. Harry and Marv escaped, kills Billy and Bobby. He's disposed of the bodies. And so he's walking back to his house, and Kevin kind of comes out and is like, hey, those two dudes running, like, what's going on? And he's like, nothing's going on. And he's like, well, can I hang out with you? And Robert's like, where's your family? And Kevin gives some kind of excuse because in the original Home Alone, he like dodges the people at the store. I don't know if you remember. He's like, where are your parents? He's like, oh, my mom's in the car. He's like, where's your dad? He's at work. He's like, are you alone? And he's like, I says something, I don't know. But who cares? He's a kid. Robert's like, all right, fine. You help me with something. He gives him a reason for Kevin to come with him. I forgot to kind of mention, while he was disposing of the bodies, he finds a phone on Billy, so he takes it with him. So Kevin's with him, goes into the Robert's house. Then crime boss guy calls him on Billy's phone that Robert now has. He picks it up, and then this is where like the monologue happens, where crime boss guy's like, "You killed my sons."
That's where they done goofed.
Yeah, that's where you fucked up. Like, now I'm gonna come for you. It's super brief and short, nothing too crazy. Essentially, to the point, kind of.
I'm coming after you.
Yeah, I'm coming after you. That's it. Hangs up. Robert's like, oh fuck. He's got Kevin with him, and now he's has some people coming after him. So Robert's like, hey Kev, you gotta go home. I just forgot I gotta go take care of some business. But he's like, like, I don't want to hang out with my family. Make some excuses up where he's like, I don't want to go. So they kind of chatter back and forth for, I don't want to say longer than 5 minutes. Because Robert notices that there's a van. He's like about to walk Kevin home, but when he opens the door and kind of like takes a step out, he notices that these vans that say candy
are parked.
More candy vans come in, and they're parked at like the edge of the block, kind of, you know. So he's like, oh shit, they're here already. Harry and Marv, there's a scene in there where they like explain to crime boss guy, hey, this dude like murdered Billy and Bobby, and it's a neighborhood hero parent suit. So these vans are outside, and he's like about to walk Kevin out. Oh, I was saying Harry and Marv told crime boss guy, hey, this dude, neighborhood hero wannabe, killed Billy and Bobby and stopped us. So we're here to tell you. Short little scene, you know, get out of the way, tell him like, hey, let's create some conflict. So these vans come out, Robert's about to take Kevin home. Kevin's like, oh, don't take me, blah, blah, blah. But then Robert's like, oh shit. So he brings him back inside because he knows some shit's about to go down. So they like close the door. And the guys in the van don't necessarily attack right away. But he's like, Robert's looking out the window and is like, oh shit. And no one's gotten out the vans yet. No one's done anything. And then the phone rings again. And it's crime boss guy. And he's like, hey. He's like, you're surrounded. And he's like, how does it feel to have the death of a child at your hands? Because, you know, we're about to just kill both of you.
We're about to light him up.
Yeah, we're about to light you up. So Denzel hangs up. Kind of doesn't like panic mode, but goes into like equalizer mode. To where he's like, oh,
focus.
Kind of focus. So he's like going around like checking things, and then Kevin's just following him like, hey, like what are you doing? Like, can I help you? And he's like, dangerous men are about to come. He's like, you know, and Kevin's like, well, let me help you. And then just because it's a fucking movie, he's like, all right. So they kind of like set up a home defense almost, like real quick. Because the dudes haven't attacked yet for some reason, because they're bad guys and they don't attack till the plot requires them to. So they like set up some death traps. So think like Home Alone traps but like actually kill you. But like when I say actually kill you, it's not like comedic, like paint can to the head kill you. It's like, I don't know, like I'm not a home defense expert.
Like some real deal.
Yeah, like some real deal. Kevin's like killing these Eastern European tracksuit wearing henchmen. So when they decide to finally attack, I kind of wanted to have Robert use Kevin to like lure the bad guys as like bait. So he like sends them out there.
Gets them to like run up the stairs.
I wanted him to like send Kevin out to one of the vans and like knock on the like door and have them like roll up, like, you know, see if they. So what I did was, Kevin goes up to the van and he's like in his like snow outfit and like walking like a fucking little kid, and then like knocks on the door, and nothing happens, and he's like, hey, he's like, Mr. McCall said that if you want him, come get him, and then he like turns and runs. I haven't decided if he like throws an egg at the window or something, but he does something to like, he does like a little kid thing.
Yeah.
So
to
then
get their attention.
so then he like runs back to the house, Robert's house. He doesn't go back to his own house. He goes back to Robert's house, and then like we do a shot where like the van just like all doors fucking swing open, and here come these Eastern European tracksuit wearing henchmen with like guns and shit.
It's real.
One of them has like a big like machine gun, but everyone else has like little pistols and stuff. I didn't want to put Kevin in too much danger, and that's impossible with Eastern European tracksuit wearing people with like big ass fucking guns. So they proceed to attack the house, and they set off a bunch of Home Alone Equalizer style traps that like inflict serious harm and or kill these dudes. And anytime someone kind of gets into a trap, Robert disposes them immediately afterwards. Like might just like snap somebody's neck who like stepped on some nails or some shit. He's like, oh fuck, and then Robert comes up and is like just snaps his neck. And then I was gonna have Kevin like kind of like follow him, but like hide behind the walls kind of, and then like come out and like kick the dude or something.
Yeah,
and
like
then
something light.
Yeah, like something like he walks by and he just like kicks him. I did want one kind of like fatality where like this dude's walking and then he like turns a corner and Kevin's like, hey mister, and then he like looks and then Denzel Washington comes and like dispatches him and then like snaps his neck or something. A whole bunch of, not a whole bunch, but like somewhat realistic between like this dude and little kid killing Eastern European tracksuit wearing henchmen do various traps. Harry and Marv decide, like if we kill this guy, like crime boss guy is gonna love us and we can get promoted or something.
Mm-hmm.
And they go kind of in the midst of like at the end where like Robert's kind of beaten up. I haven't decided if I wanted to get super dramatic. I might get Robert like shot, and then like Kevin's like, "Come on, Mr. McCall, like you gotta get up. Like these dudes,
they're coming.
They're coming. You gotta get up." And he's like, "Give me a sec." And then they like hear something, and then like Kevin goes off by himself and like dispatches Harry and Marv because they're like the last ones. And I want him to do a throwback to where he does the paint can swings and like knocks them out as they try to like kill Robert. So they're like knocked out, and then crime boss guy shows up because he wants to do it himself because he's out for blood because they killed his family. And Robert's kind of like bandaging, like fixing himself up, and then like I kind of want him to catch him off guard, and like you'll just hear like the cocking of the hammer of the gun,
mm-hmm.
and then it's crime boss guy, and he's like, I told you I'd come kill you or some shit. And then Kevin saves him by doing some crazy Home Alone.
So he's the savior. Day?
Yeah, he's there to save the day essentially. After dispatching Harry and Marv, I want him to like actually like save the day and like kill. I want him to like injure crime boss guy, but then Robert says something witty about like don't underestimate the kid or some shit, and then like kills him.
Yeah.
And then like as
the timing.
Yeah, the timing is gonna have to be everything for that scene. But essentially it's Robert and Kevin holding off against Eastern European tracksuit wearing people. Because Robert killed this dude's sons. This dude's two sons. And I wanted it to end with, of course, kind of interjected between all this is like the family realizing Kevin is lost. So like my last shot, and I've like thought about this, is like the police and like fire trucks and shit coming. Because like somebody, I want to say like Kevin called the cops at some point in there. And like the last shot is like the police all coming down the block, and then like the family's like also coming on. They like swerve. Well, it'd be the mom actually, because she's the only one that goes back. So like the mom like is driving and then like swerves onto the street and like opens, and then here comes like Kevin holding Robert, or like Robert like he's like obviously like holding him up, kind of, and like carrying Robert, and he's like, "Mom, guess what?" Like. And then it kind of just like zooms out, and she's like, "Oh my God, Kevin!" And like,
guess what we did?
Yeah, like he's embracing him, and Robert's just like standing above them, like holding his arm or wherever he's injured, and then it just like kind of slowly zooms out, and that's like Equalized alone.
Yeah.
Like I said, it has no title, but that's like the gist. That was like my combining Equalizer and Home Alone.
That's the mashup.
That's the mashup. Essentially, just like a Home Alone film, but Robert and Kevin are like teamed up. So that's why I said I kind of got Home Alone off of the first Equalizer when he's fighting off the Home Depot people.
Yeah,
not the Home Depot people, but he's
in the knockoff
Home Depot. I guess I just found it easier to like do combine them like that. So that's my most ambitious crossover event.
All right.
So now it's time for your
spotlight.
Most ambitious crossover event.
I gotta pull out the notes
of all time.
All right, whipping out the notes. So mine's a little bit different. It's a little bit the same in certain ways, but it's a little bit different. So it starts off with Denzel's character. He's a rich retired man in a huge mansion. So this thing's like obnoxiously huge. You can get lost in it. And basically, Denzel, he lives on his own, just kind of like in The Equalizer. He's just like this lone wolf kind of guy.
So like takes care of his mansion. That's like his thing.
Yeah, that's like his thing. He tidies up and stuff, but he's lonely. So, I mean, he still has like that same past and everything. But so he's lonely, and he figures he's gonna adopt a kid. And so he goes to an adoption agency. He looks into adopting Kevin. And Kevin is just like this really bad, rebellious kid. Blah, blah, blah.
Why is Kevin an orphan? His family died on the
Not only did his family forget. France. Yeah. Not only did the family forget, they put him up for adoption.
So they're not dead. They just said, fuck it?
Either way.
Still
working out the kinks.
Okay, so he's getting adopted.
He's getting adopted either way. So basically, Denzel has a plan, because he sees some really good potential in this kid. Kid's really bad, really rebellious, so he's not really too open to him living in the mansion and everything. So he's living in the mansion. He's not really liking the way he's being brought up because Denzel's
Is it like
character's
super strict? It's just like
he's reasonably strict.
Reasonably strict. I like
but
that.
Just Kevin's just a little
piece of shit.
Yeah. So pretty much Kevin's like, you know what? I'm not having this. They have a lot of back and forth altercations, but Denzel, he's determined to what's Denzel's character's name? Robert
McCall.
Robert.
Mr. McCall.
He's determined to change Kevin.
For the better.
And so part of that includes, he puts Kevin in, physical training. He pretty much just he trains Kevin. He trains Kevin.
He trains Kevin in the ways?
Yeah, he trains Kevin in the ways.
Would somebody argue that that's, immoral to teach a child how to, do this shit?
Well, he does, basic stuff. He hasn't taught him all,
But I mean,
stuff.
Yeah, okay, I feel you.
But, he...
He gets them ready.
Yeah, he gets them ready. He trains him.
Jacked Kevin.
He just wants to toughen him up, give him a little bit more discipline in his life.
Tough love.
That's pretty much the basis for what he does. And so Kevin's character, he has a hard time dealing with it and stuff. He's not a real fan of Robert's ways. So Kevin views it as a punishment. He's not a big fan. And pretty much eventually the mansion gets infiltrated by people of Robert's past. So they're coming back. They're going to get a vengeance. Maybe he killed one of their family members back then in the day.
Are they Eastern European tracksuit wearing? Are they
more
tactical? Are they more tactical? When you say infiltrated, do they full on X-Men 2 infiltrate the X Mansion?
They're pretty tactical.
Or do they come in off the sides and swinging through the fucking windows with guns and shit?
Nah, they're pretty tactical about it. They come in the middle of the night and they pretty much what happens is they take Robert's character and they pretty much knock him out because you still need him for information and stuff. But they see that Kevin is a witness, and Kevin, he's looking up from the top of some stairs, and they're like, get the kid. So pretty much he runs away in this huge giant mansion. Like I said, it's obnoxiously huge. So once Kevin's gone, he's gone. But those people are still in the mansion running around. They know they have to get this kid before the kid, talks to the police and stuff. Yeah, and before he escapes. But Kevin is determined to A, survive, and B, he still wants to get Robert back. He's not going to leave him for dead, even though he doesn't really agree with him or like him. So
he's got to save him.
He's going to save the day. So pretty much everything that Robert taught him in the beginning, and Robert teaches him how to do the traps and stuff, the typical
basic.
Yeah, the basic stuff like
defense
that. Home defense of Home Alone movies. So he teaches them how to do all that type of stuff, and pretty much
Takes out everybody.
he takes out everyone
Takes out a bunch of
little by little.
trained Eastern European tracksuit wearing.
Yeah, and he pretty much he rescues Robert at the end of the day, and he's like, man, Robert taught me some good stuff. And you know, obviously Robert, I imagine in the movie that maybe toward last scene he gets to hear Robert, and Robert guides him through what he needs to do, and he ends up coming out on top, saves Robert.
Oh, so like he finds little,
Yeah, so at the end,
like walkie-talkie things.
that, or maybe he's just within voice reach. So at the end, he just has a new attachment to Robert. They have a stronger relationship. He's not a bad kid anymore. He actually listens to Robert, and he enjoys the rest of his
Does he die?
life.
He doesn't die. Robert doesn't die. I feel
Robert
like
doesn't die.
I feel like in that kind of story, like you have to kill Denzel.
This is a happy
I know it's
story.
really hard. I know it's really hard to kill Denzel, but I feel like
Is it possible to kill Denzel?
I can't think of any movies where he's
Does
died
Hollywood allow that, to kill Denzel?
to kill Denzel. Doesn't he die in Training Day?
But that's back in the day. His reputation's a lot bigger now. I don't think you could kill him anymore.
So, but I feel like in your story it would impact him more if they killed him.
Perhaps.
Because now Kevin has a
Maybe
better
he,
understanding and...
and then maybe Kevin.
No, don't go, Mr. McCall.
Maybe Kevin inherits the mansion too.
And now shot up, destroyed.
Yeah.
Mansion.
But now he's got to work hard. He's got to use all that character he's built
There's got to be
to fix up the mansion.
to fix up the mansion and adopt somebody else.
Character development.
And now it's a never-ending.
Yeah, it's a never-ending cycle. He's gonna adopt someone and
Teach him everything that he
teach him his
learned.
ways.
I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, that's
So-
pretty much it.
So the ours are. I mean, they're almost the same with little differences. I guess do your villains come from? So they come from his past, and you just left it at that.
I just left it at that. I don't know. If you guys pick this movie, we get it made. You know, we can work out the details.
Can find out all the details. So I guess that concludes your most ambitious crossover event.
That includes it for me. The title is to be determined as well.
I mean, it's hard to. I couldn't think of a title. Equalized alone. Home equalizer.
The equalizer at home.
The equalizer at home. At home being equalized.
Home equalization.
Equalization. Equalized.
Equal home.
Equal homes.
Equal homes.
Equity. Big Bang. Big words.
The homalizer.
The homalizer. Hey.
Sounds a little wrong.
That does sound a little wrong.
The homalizer.
You're the one that said it, not me. So I guess that concludes it then.
Alright,
So
that's
now
gonna be it.
Now that's it. So now it's up to you
To comment below.
and tell us which story you prefer. Or if you're like, fuck both of those guys, I can come up with my own. Go ahead and type it on out. Let me know how you would combine Home Alone and Equalizer. Next episode, 2 completely different movies. Not 2 completely different movies. 2 new movies.
2 new movies.
Next episode, same idea. We'll come back. We'll each have our own most ambitious crossover event, and then once again, you guys can decide which one you would want to fund in the future, and we'll try to make it happen. Most likely not. Take it with
Most
ingredients.
likely not.
Most likely not, but it's fun nonetheless. So that concludes this episode, ladies and gentlemen. This was the most ambitious crossover event. My name's Jeremiah.
Ariel.
And we will catch you guys next time.